This small but elegant hotel room in London's financial district was filled with shadows. 2 figures sat at a table. 2 books lay open beneath a dim lamp. The pages of one were creased and brown from the centuries it had seen, although the ancient Hebrew script was still legible. The other was a dual-language version of the same text. Its cover read, "The Book of Creation." The older of the men, Professor Jeremiah Eliezer, searched his friend's eyes looking for strength. William Oleander stared back. Eliezer lowered his gaze and passed his hand over the book's pages, brushing aside an imaginary crumb. He hesitated, then pulled the old manuscript towards him. The same questions that had been torturing him now returned. Are we entitled to use discernment, our ancestral meditation, to awaken this ancient book? Are we certain what will happen when the powers of discernment are focused on these mysterious invocations? And if the council discovers what we're doing, this might be deemed treason, and the penalty would surely be death. "We are keepers," Eliezer murmured, answering his own worries. "Our duty is to the blessing, not blind obedience to tradition." Oleander nodded as if his mentor had spoken to him. He trusted Eliezer's understanding of the Book of Creation, but loathed hiding their endeavor from the keeper's counsel. As a monk, he valued obedience. "Let's hope," he said, "we know what we're doing." For a moment, Eliezer was tempted to halt their endeavor. This is like tapping a dormant volcano. It's not too late to stop and study the book more. Eliezer rubbed his sweaty palms on his pants. "No," he urged himself, "we can't go on studying forever. Let us start, William." Each threw a last glance at the pages, then closed his eyes and quieted his thoughts. They sank into silence, then still further inward to their inner depths. Sometime later, their minds were hovering at the edge of the great void. Eliezer began reciting, Oleander immediately joining him. "With 32 mysterious paths of wisdom engraved God, the Lord of hosts." This was only the book's introductory passage, but already they were engulfed by a tender energy. It was unmistakably the blessing they knew so well. "And he created his world with 3 Sephers, with Sefer and Sefer and Sefer." They pronounced these last words cautiously. Since the manuscript lacked vowel signs, they could only conjecture which ancient Hebrew words the letters were supposed to designate. The book's opening verse completed, they were ready to plunge into its core, the first in a list of enigmatic statements, each starting with 10 Sefirot of Belima. 10 Sefirot of Belima, 22 fundamental letters, 10 Sefirot. They felt the blessing swell all around them. The suddenness of its pressure took them by surprise, knocking them off balance for a moment. It was only because they were experienced keepers that they kept their focus. Like the number of 10 fingers, 5 opposite 5, and the covenant of the one set in the center, with the word of the tongue in the mouth, and with the circumcision of nakedness. The forces surrounding them mounted and deepened, held back by something they couldn't see. Had Eliezer been able to open his eyes, he would have seen Oleander gripping the edge of the table so hard his fingertips had gone white. Eliezer breathed deeply, then whispered one Hebrew word, milah. Something stirred in the great energies around them. Then came an explosion of blessing, breathtaking and powerfully sweet, surging through them into the void. It was unlike anything they had experienced in all their years of discernment. They were galvanized, they gasped, they were fire, they were air, they were nothingness. At last, the almost unbearable intensity subsided. By degrees, their consciousness left the edge of the void and returned to their bodies. Slowly, they uncoiled and slumped in their chairs, hollow, exhausted, damp with sweat. Their eyes met, and they smiled. Their drained faces did not show their exhilaration, but they had succeeded. On their return to the airport, they sat in the taxi quietly pondering what exactly had happened and the worry that weighed on each. Had they disturbed anything in the fabric of these mysterious forces?